Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome to all the devotees to our weekly Bhakti Vaibhav class. You are able to see the slides?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So in the previous 3-4 classes, we were discussing from Canto 5, initial 3 chapters. In chapter 1, we discussed about the wonderful activities of Prevrat Maharaj. And then in chapter 6, we discussed about the wonderful activities of Priyavrat Maharaja's eldest son, Agnidra. And then in the chapter 3, we discussed about the wonderful activities of Agnidra's eldest son, that was Nabi. And in today's chapter, we will discuss about the wonderful activities of Nabi's son, Lord Rsabhadeva. So with the intention to have a son, Nabi employed his Brahmanas to perform a yajna, as a result of which the Supreme Lord appeared, and they offered prayers and they requested on behalf of King Nabi that the king wanted to have a son who is equal to the Lord. Lord said, though it is very difficult, but I will come myself in my partial manifestation as the son of King Nabi. That is what we discussed in the previous week um, about how and why the Supreme Lord Vishnu appeared as the son of King Nabi. In today's chapter, we will discuss the wonderful activities of Lord Rsabhadeva. The fourth chapter describes how Lord Rsabhadeva produced 100 sons headed by Bharata and satisfied all the desires of the citizens of his kingdom. So that is the subject matter for chapter 4. All of you are able to see the slides now?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you. So this is a small chapter. We'll do it. So please read the translation for text number 1.
Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, as soon as the Lord was born as the son of Maharaj Nabi, he manifested symptoms of the Supreme Lord, such as marks on the bosom of his feet, the flag, thunderbolt, etc. This son was equal to everyone and very peaceful. He could control his senses and his mind, and possessing all opulence, he did not hanker for material enjoyment. Endowed with all these attributes, the son of Maharaj Nabi became more powerful day after day. Due to this, the citizens
So
learned.
this verse describes the wonderful characteristics of Lord Rishabhdeva. Wherein here it is said that Srila Sukadeva Goswami is
Hare
saying
Krishna,
that.
could you hear?
Ah, yes, Mataji.
Yeah, okay.
So Srila Sukadeva Goswami is saying that the ministers, the citizens, the devatas greatly desired that this son who displayed the qualities of the Supreme Lord when he was born. Matlab, when he was born, everyone understood. Even before birth also, the people knew that the Supreme Lord wanted to have a son who is similar to Supreme Lord. And when he was born, the Jatakarma ceremony was performed. Also, they predicted what are the wonderful activities he is going to perform. So in that way, who displayed the qualities of Supreme Lord when he was born, who increased day by day in great qualities, powers, detachment, sense control, and equal vision, rule over the entire earth. So not only they understood this personality is none other than Supreme Lord, by display of his wonderful behavior and characteristics, they have understood about his great nature, great personality, and everyone desired that he should become the king immediately, as soon as possible. That was the desire of the citizens of the kingdom. So Jagrudu means they desired, everyone desired that he should become the king of the entire kingdom. Yeah, please read this next to translation.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, I'm just observing since past couple of turns that when somebody is reading the translation, before the translation gets over, you are starting to speak. So, are you having the text with you? You have the book with you?
Sorry, today I don't have the book with me. Previously, I
Okay,
used to
okay.
have. Hmm.
I'm just reading the second translation. Let's see if you can, fathom.
Okay.
When the
Okay.
son of Maharaj Navi became visible, he even no evinced. I don't know what is it. All good qualities described by the great poets, namely a well-built body with all the symptoms of the Godhead, prowess, strength, beauty, name, fame, influence, and enthusiasm. When the father Maharaj Nabi saw all these qualities, he thought his son to be the best of human beings or the supreme being. Therefore, he gave him the name Rishabh. The second translation is over. You want me to read the third one also?
No. Only second.
Oh,
Yeah. So the previous verse states that the citizens and the ministers, they all observed wonderful qualities in this personality, and they desired that he should become the king. Not only they, even his father Nabi also observed the wonderful qualities and characteristics in this wonderful personality. Observing all these wonderful qualities, so his father named him as Rishabha, best among human beings. Because of his excellent body, praised by many poets, his mental and physical strength, his personal beauty, his fame, his influence, and courage, his father King Nabi called him Rishabha. So many times you see in the villages, there are so many village animals. And if somebody is powerful, they will be compared with Rishabha, bull, because bull is the powerful animal among all the village animals. And if they want somebody wants to compare someone's power with the forest animals, they'll compare one with a lion, Vyagra, or Simha. So because the in the forest, the lion is considered to be powerful. In the village, the bull is considered to be powerful. So that's why Lord is called as Rishabha, the most powerful, the most famous, the most young, energetic, beautiful personality. That is Lord Rishabha. So his glories are glorified by many poets. Variyasa Bruhashlokena. Even the great poets, the great singers such as Gandharvas are also glorifying his wonderful qualities. Virya means influence and Shaurya means fortitude. Here all these wonderful qualities are there. Ojasa, Balena. Balena is the physical strength. Ojasa is the mental strength. Yashasa is main is Shreya is beauty. Yashasa is fame. Virya is influence. And Shaurya is fortitude or courage. So like that. So something wonderful happens. Um, it will come in the upcoming verses. His glories are so wonderful that even his glories are sung in the heavenly abodes, the heavenly um, darbar of Indra. That's what causes some more activities in the future. Okay, please continue with the third verse.
Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, as soon as the Lord was born as the son of Maharaj Nabi, sorry, yeah, Indra, the king of heaven, who is very materially opulent, became envious of King Rishabdev. Consequently, he stopped pouring water on the planet known as Bharatvarsha. At that time, the Supreme Lord Rishabdev, the master of all mystic power, understood King Indra's purpose and smiled a little. Then, by his own prowess through Yoga Maya, that is his internal potency, he profusely poured water upon his own place, which was known as Ajanabha.
So, as I was mentioning that the poets were glorifying his wonderful qualities, his wonderful personality, and characteristics, etc. And the glories went all the way up to Indra's assembly. When Indra heard all these wonderful glories, Indra became a little bit combat, what you can say, insecure or envious or somewhat like that. So the powerful Indra in envy, Spardhamana, he felt competitive. Yeah, what is this? In my assembly, my glory should be sung. Why somebody else's glories are sung? Is he so powerful? Thinking like that, let me check his power, his fame. Indra stopped the rains from falling on the earth. So Indra stopped pouring rains for many years. And people complained to Rsabhadeva that, my dear Lord, no rains are coming. Please do something. We are getting starved. Understanding this, Lord Rsabhadeva, who is the master of yoga, Yogeshwara, Bhagavan Rsabhadeva, smiled. He understood that, okay, Indra out of envy stopped the rains. He's trying to test me. Okay, no problem. And then, smiling little, poured rain on his state named Ajnabavarsha by his power of yoga. Atma Yoga Maya. Sambhavami Atma Maya. Something like that. So by his own mystic potency, by his own Yoga Maya, Lord Rishabhadeva created new rains and entire kingdom, which was known as Ajnabavarsha, again became fertile and opulent. So this is the problem. When somebody's glories are spread here and there, people become envious immediately. Either they start spreading bad rumors about that person, or they do something to defame that person, something like that. Here Indra stopped rain to test how, what kind of personality is he, what kind of fame is he has, does he have. So for that reason. But understanding this, maybe couple of years later, understanding that Indra is trying to play pranks with him, Lord himself created his own rains and made the entire surface of the earth green and prosperous. The country was called Ajnabavarsha after Lord Rishabhadeva. So Aja means the unborn Lord. Nabi is the king. Since he is the son of Nabi, he will be called as Nabi. So like Pandu's sons are called Pandavas, Dhritarashtra's sons are called Dhatarashtra's, like that. The Supreme Lord who is unborn, who is Aja, appeared as the son of Nabi. So the Supreme Lord himself is called as Ajnava. So because he was ruling over the entire tract of land, the tract of land known as Ajnaba Varsha, which was previously called as Nabi Varsha, while his father King Nabi was ruling over it. This we discussed previously. King Priyavrata, after dividing the Pumandala into 9 divisions, sorry, 7 divisions, 7 Zipas, he gave one Zipa to one son. The first Zipa, that was Jambudipa, which was given to Agnidra. He had 9 sons and he divided that Jambudipa into 9 divisions and he gave them to 9 of his sons. And that time he did one thing. So when he gave particular land to one person, he named that land after the name of that son. So he had one eldest son was Nabi. It was known as Nabi Varsha. Then Kimpurusha, Kimpurusha Varsha, Hari, Hari Varsha, Ilavruta, Ilavruta Varsha, Ketumala, Ketumala Varsha, Rammeka, Rammeka Varsha, Hiranmaya, Hiranmaya Varsha, Kuru, Kuru Varsha, like that. So that was the thing. So while Nabi was ruling over that land, it was known as Nabi Varsha. Now when Lord Rishabhadeva began to rule, this land became known as Ajnaba Varsha. That was the understanding. Ajnabam Nama Swavarsham. So his own Varsha, his own tract of land, which is known as Ajnaba Varsha. After the name of the Lord, it is named. So Prabhupada writes as Bharata Varsha. It will become Bharata Varsha after Bharata Maharaj, who will be one of the sons of Lord Rishabhadeva.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, like there are two things. When the Varsha's names were kept, Priyavrat Maharaj's sons, whatever their name was, that was the name of that particular Varsha. So when their sons came, again the
Priyavrata's grandsons, not sons. When he gave to his sons, he did not name the lands after the names of his sons. He just, the
okay.
names came because of the speciality of the particular object. Jambudipa got its name because of the presence of Jambu tree. Plakshadweepa got the name because of the Plaksha tree. That will be discussed later in the 20th chapter. But they are not after the names of the sons. But when they divided their respective lands and gave them to their respective sons, they named them after the names of their sons.
Okay, yeah, because that confusion I was having since long, that how it is.
We told last time also, now also I'm telling. Only Agnidra divided the Jambudvipa into 9 divisions and gave them to his 9 sons and named them after the names of their son, his 9 sons.
Okay. So Jambudvipa, when it was further divided, that was the son's name of Agnita. Okay, fine.
Yes,
And
yes.
Prabhuji, here we see like whatever the Indra's pastimes in respect to Rishabdeva, it was planned by the Lord to to unveil the glories of the Lord more, or how
No,
it
not necessarily. See, no need Lord need not necessarily plan. It happened. It happens in this material world, even though great people also sometimes they make mistake and
yeah,
then
because
out of
time and
misunderstanding.
again, yeah.
Mm,
Because generally we see that demigods are those who are the devotees of the Lord and they are very much surrendered to the Lord. But we
mm.
see the king of the demigods time and again he displays certain qualities which, like, I should not say this, but materially oriented qualities like that it is seen. Now, whenever enviousness specifically, whenever anyone tries to go up, in case of Prithu Maharaj also we saw, like here also we are seeing in many places. That is why I was.
He did once or twice, but we may do every day. So we
Yeah.
do much more than Indra. And we also discussed this in the case of Prithu Maharaj pastime also. It is not the problem with the personality. It is the problem with the position. When the personality sits on that position, that personality becomes kind of insecure out of fear of losing that position. That is the problem.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Thank you.
that makes a person to commit mistakes. Otherwise, person per se will be very simple. But when he was given certain position, in order to protect that position, person becomes insecure. Out of insecurity, they tend to make mistakes. It is
Hare
like that.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Ah, yes. Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, I was just thinking in this translation when it is mentioned that Rishabdev smiled, that he
Ah,
understood that Indra is playing pranks. But the
mm,
same Lord, when comes as Prithu Maharaj,
mm,
he tends to show anger, like through his son. So I was just
mm.
wondering that same Lord shows different emotions at different times.
Mm.
Uh, how do you, I mean, what is your call on that? I mean, how do you
We
describe
discussed
this?
this elaborately during that time. You are asking again now.
What did we discuss? I forgot.
See, that time the circumstances were different. Though it was not necessary, King Prutu was performing 100 sacrifices. For a
Hmm.
kingdom to become prosperous, okay, few sacrifices would be sufficient. But he was continuously performing one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. He was trying to do 100. So Indra is the one who had the record of 100. Somebody else is also making the same record. The problem is that whoever does 100, they have to sit on the throne of Indra. So Indra feeling insecure. अभी मुझे जाना निकल छोड़ना पड़ेगा. So that was one of the reasons that he wanted to interrupt the 100th one, so that at least 100th one will not be completed and 99 only will be there. So that was external reason, which is spoken, obviously understood.
No, I'm
And the
talking
internal
about
reason is
I'm talking
there is
about
one
the
ah,
Prabhuji, I'm not talking about Indra here.
mm,
I'm talking about the
Prutu
Lord.
only, na? Yeah, that's what
Prithvi and
I'm telling about
Rishabh.
the I'm telling about Prutu also, because Prutu
Okay.
was trying to, he was thinking that let me do more and more, more and more, more. He was attached to doing 100. Initially, he made a
Hmm.
plan that okay, I want to do 100. So he was attached to his plan, and Indra was attached to his own position that others should not do 100. So there is a competition. So competition goes to the extent that who will win? I will win or you will win. So when
Hmm.
Brahma came and told, my dear Prutu, why you want to do all these things? Please stop it. Not necessarily. You will not get anything by performing 100. So in Prutu stopped. He did not go further.
Yes, of course. Prithu
So
instantly.
Prithu was thinking that I don't want your position. I just want to perform 100 for the welfare of the people. So, but Indra has some other. Externally, he was thinking like that. Okay, I'm at insecure state, but internally, he has to start very soon Dwapara Yuga. So currently, the Treta Yuga was going on, and very soon Dwapara Yuga has to start. Dwapara Yuga means confusion. So by creating all the pseudo sampradayas, Indra created confusion among the citizens. So eventually, after Prithu Maharaj, Kali Yuga began because of that confusion. So like that. Sir, not Kali Yuga, Dwapara Yuga began.
Yeah, okay.
Hmm.
I just want to understand the Rishabdev's, attributes. But anyway, in the further chapters, it should come. So we will get.
Hmm. So Rishabdev simply laughed, and now we'll see what happens. Okay, it is not mentioned now. Later on in one verse, again the same thing will come. That time I'll tell you what exactly happened. So actually, okay, I'll tell now only. So when Rishabdev poured down rains, then Indra understood. I am playing with fire. In order to pacify Lord Rishabdev, Indra brought his daughter Jayanti and offered his daughter in marriage to Lord Rishabdev. So Lord Rishabdev, since Indra is his own devotee only, अनजाने में कुछ गलती किया, माफ किया, and since Indra is offering a gift, so Lord Rishabdev accepted that gift. So he accepted Jayanti as his wife. And later on, and there are no ill feelings. No, both of them are relatives. But Lord Rishabdev also performs 100 sacrifices. That time Indra did not do anything, any harm. He did not create any impediment because now he is his son-in-law only. So it is like that.
Okay, okay. Thank you, God.
Sometimes even a mistake also, it will lead to a good relationship.
Yeah,
So
true.
it is like that. Yeah, please
Thank
read the
you.
translation.
Due to getting a perfect son according to his desire, King Nabi was always overwhelmed with transcendental bliss and was very affectionate to his son. It was with ecstasy and a flattering voice that he addressed him. My dear son, my darling. This mentality was brought about by Yoga Maya, whereby he accepted the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Father, as his own son. Out of his supreme goodwill, the Lord became his son and dealt with everyone as if he were an ordinary human being. Thus, King Nabi began to raise his transcendental son with great affection, and he was overwhelmed with transcendental bliss, joy, and devotion.
Yeah. Here the relationship between the father and son. Now couple of verses, 4-5 verses talks about Nabi only. So Nabi's Vasalarus and Nabi's Vanaprastha order, Nabi's perfection, they'll be mentioned in the next 4-5 verses. And then Rishabdev's activities will be narrated. Having attained his desire for an excellent son, overwhelmed with great joy, thinking of the Supreme Lord, who accepted the ways of an ordinary human as his son, King Nabi addressed him with faltering words as his son, Vasta Tata iti, and raising him with affection, he attained great bliss. So, when the King Nabi had a desire to have the Supreme Lord as his son, and eventually he had the Supreme Lord as his son, he had the good fortune of raising the Supreme Lord as his son, and he expressed his affection to the Supreme Lord by calling him as Tata, Vasta, and by raising the Supreme Lord as his own son, the king experienced intense bliss. No one can imagine what kind of bliss that could be. So this is what is indicated here. Avarudhya means attaining the Supreme Lord as his own son. He thought of the Lord as his son. Maya Vilasita Mati. Maya can mean illusion or intelligence according to Amarkosha dictionary. So basically, Maya Vilasita Mahi means he is not in illusion. Okay, this Maya you can say we can say Yoga Maya Vilasita Mahi also under the cover of Yoga Maya. He is considering the Supreme Lord as his own son and treating him as his own son and raising him. So like Rajavasis, how they were under the Yogamaya spell and they never considered Krishna to be Supreme Lord. They considered him only their darling son. So like that we can see. So this shows the great fortune and great devotional state of King Nabi. He is a so great devotee that the Supreme Lord became his son and giving him the experience of Vasalya Rasa. Next translation.
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Prabhuji,
Mataji.
just wanted to make a point before going to the next verse that like Vasudeva Maharaj and Yashoda Maya, whatever they had the Vatsalya Prema for the Lord, that will be always much more na, because Lord has himself appeared that time. But these are all plenary portions. So in comparison to that, those pastimes will be always supreme, the Vatsalya pastimes. Na. That's
No, it's okay. See, it is not about comparison. Wherever the Lord is there, he kind of for the devotees at that point of time, he gives them to the satisfaction whatever they are due. According to the devotees level of consciousness, Lord will reciprocate accordingly. Ye etamam prapadyante tam staiva bhajamaham. So in that way. So we don't have to compare. Nabi is also great devotee, Vasudev also great devotee. Yeah.
because in case of Kapil Dev also we saw na Devavati and Kardama,
Ah.
they are also the parents of the Supreme Lord. But still with Devavati there is always a lot of Aishwarya mood is also there along with Devavati.
Even here also it is Aishwarya also, but at least when the Lord has a small son, so like toward the small child, na, you don't have that respectful, more than respect, you have more
Loving
uh,
attitude.
loving attitude and affection. So that's why it is called Maya Vilasita.
Yeah.
So in that way.
Yes, really. Prajit, should I read the fourth translation?
Yeah, please. Fifth one.
King, I'm sorry, fifth one. King Nabhi understood that his son Rishabdeva was very popular among the citizens and among government officers and ministers. Understanding the popularity of his son, Maharaj Nabhi enthroned him as the emperor of the world to give protection to the general populace in terms of Vedic religious system. To do this, he entrusted him into the hands of learned Brahmanas who would guide him in administrating the government. Then Maharaj Nabhi and his wife Meru Devi went to Badrikashram in the Himalaya mountains, where the king engaged himself very expertly in austerities and penances with great jubilation. In full samadhi, he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Naranarayana, who is Krishna in his plenary expansion. By doing so, in course of time, Maharaj Nabhi was elevated to the spiritual world known as Vaikuntha.
Yeah. So when Lord Rishabhadev was in youth, matlab small child, they raised him very nicely. As he grew up further and further, when he became maturity, attained a required age, they made him the king of the entire province and they went to Vanaprastha order to perform Vanaprastha duties. King Nabi, who took into consideration the opinion of the population and the ministers, considering the approval of the citizens and the ministers, enthroned his son, Lord Rishabha, for whom the citizens had great affection, by entrusting him to the Brahmanas in order to protect the laws of proper conduct. So, with the approval of the citizens and with the approval of the ministers, Lord King Nabi made Lord Rishabhdeva the next king and kept him under the care of the Brahmanas because the kingdom has to be governed under the directions of Brahmanas. So, in that way it is. So then Nabi, along with his wife Meru Devi, then worshipped the Lord in the form of Naranarayana in Badrikashram. So Naranarayana, the precedent deities of Badrikashram, they are there from the beginning of the creation, Karandeya Brahma. They are the sons of Murti and Dharma personified. Murti was one of the 16 daughters of Daksha. Daksha married Prasuti, who was the youngest daughter of Swayambhu Manu. So in that way. So since then the lords, twin lords, Narana and Rishis are performing tapasya in Himalayas, Badrikashram. So both Nabi and Merudevi went to Badrikashram to perform Vanaprastha duties. How? By austerities and concentration, tapasa samadhi yogena, which were capable of attaining results for the happiness of all beings. In time, they attained Vaikunta, the glory of the Lord. Kalena tad mahimanam avapagatim. So they went to Badrikashram, performed all the Vanaprastha duties consisting of tapasya and yoga. So then they went back to Godhead, unto the abode of Lord Vishnu, Vaikunta. Apaura Prakriti Janapada means Nabi, who took everyone from the population up to the ministers into consideration for enthroning his son. He did not enthrone his son out of his whimsical nature. Instead, he took the opinion approval of all the citizens and all the ministers. That is the proper way of enthroning the next generation. He enthroned his son, for whom the people had great affection, in order to protect the laws of good conduct. Samaya Setu. He acted as Setu. We discussed this also in the previous classes in relation to Prithu Maharaj and also the prayers of Prachetas also. Setu is like a bridge. It is the king's duty is to facilitate the execution of the sadhana in a proper order so that people will come back to Godhead quickly. This also we discussed during the time of Priyavrata also. He made entire night into day only as long as he was ruling, with an intention to provide longer time for practicing sadhana so that people can go back to Godhead quickly. The king should act like the Setu. So Setu is the one who provides proper Varnashrama background so that the citizens can practice sadhana and then go back to Godhead quickly. So that was the reason. So that's what he did. So King Nabi enthroned his son, for whom the people had great affection, in order to protect the laws of good conduct. He should act like the Setu. The king should act like the bridge, so that the citizens can go to spiritual world quickly. So Nabi worshipped the Lord in Badrikashram with austerities capable of bringing results for the happiness of all beings. He attained Vaikunta in due course of time. Prasanna Nipunena. So it's like that. So we saw that Prithu Maharaj also went back to Godhead, having gone to Narada Muni's ashram and then performing austerities, or having performed austerities. And his son Agnidra first he went to the Pitruloka, wherever his wife Purochiti, I suppose, she was there, and then eventually will go to Godhead. He is also a Dharma person, but he is also a great devotee. And then Nabi has gone to Godhead. So very nice. So this is why we are discussing in the last class. So in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says multiple times that we need to practice sadhana in order to come back to Godhead. In the Bhagavatam, there are so many pastimes. Every pastime concludes with he is going back to Godhead. So this is the direction in which the scriptures are pointing at. So in that way, I said.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, is there any difference in the level of renunciation? Like we see that Prithu Maharaj and Archie both went to Vanaprastha. Like here also we are seeing that Navi and Merudevi both went. But in Priyavrat Maharaj past time we saw that he left his wife as if she was a dead body. So is there any reason why sometimes the wife is taken in the Vanaprastha ashrama and sometimes it's not?
No. Actually, see, do not see like that. He treated it like that means it is not that he considered his wife to be dead body. The understanding is that attachment to opposite sex is not a good thing. So in order to curtail that, so somewhere in the Bhagavatam, the philosophical instructions will tell like that. It is not that he never treated his wife like that. And even in the final, he said that I have become like the one Mruga in the hands of women, Yoshit Mruga, something like that. That is just
Yeah,
to
yeah, that is
point
there.
out renunciation. But we
But
are not sure whether he left behind his wife, he went alone, or his wife also followed him. Like Yudhishthir Maharaj. The last week,
oh,
His Holiness Rajnath Maharaj was speaking about in the class also. When Arjuna came back from Dwaraka and with rejected face, when Yudhishthir Maharaj understood that Lord left, there is no point in living. So Yudhishthir Maharaj did not speak to anybody. He did not even told his brothers, and he became dumb. And he changed his clothes, made Parikshita the next king, and he started walking towards north. And other Pandavas followed him, and their wife Draupadi also followed him. So it is like that.
okay. Yeah.
So even in the case of our Priyavrata also, we cannot say that he treated his wife like dead body, not like that. That is the principle of renunciation. In order to inspire us, it is mentioned like that.
Okay, Praveen, thank you.
Mm. Okay. Read the next translation. Ah, okay. Don't read the translation. This verse we'll read. I'm just looking for that Priyavrat Maharaj going back to forest. So what it was written. So by regaining his discrimination through the mercy of the Lord, Priyavrata divided the earth among his obedient sons as their inheritance and gave up his great wealth and power, along with his queen, as if it were all a dead body. Being completely detached, realizing the pastimes of the Lord in his heart, he again followed the path instructed by Narada. So, by the mercy of the Lord, he again followed the path instructed by Narada Muni. After dividing the earth among his obedient sons, he realized the pastimes of the Lord in his heart and shed tears of joy with hair standing on end. So, the both things are there. Sometimes they take their wife along with them, sometimes they keep their wife in the care of their sons and then go to the forest alone. So, in order to emphasize the principle of renunciation, it is said that he treated the kingdom and his wife as a dead body in the sense, see, even in our case also, if somebody is passed away in our home, how long we keep the dead body in the home? Even though that person may be the most loving person of ours, but how long one will keep the dead body in the home?
Yes, Prabhuji, that is understood. Like that is the mood in which. But
That's all.
my point was only whether because of that mood, it is mentioned now. You read also now that he left the wife with his sons, and you also many times have mentioned it at various other points of time that earlier they used to keep wife at home. She used to guide the younger generations of girls and give them knowledge, etc. And my husband used to go and perform austerities like that. So from that point of view, I was asking.
Yeah, at some places the wife would follow the husband. In some cases, the wife would stay back. So both possibilities are there. So in that way we should treat. But when a person gets no station, he will have no attachment for anything in this world. Even Yudhishthira Maharaj's case also. The moment he heard Krishna left, that's all. He has nothing to do with this world. He started walking towards north, and others followed after him. So it's like that. That is the principle of renunciation. So like that we should see.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Thank you.
here there are two verses are in poetry only. So here it said that Yasya Pandaveya Shloka Udaharanti Ko nu tat karma rajarsher Naber anu acharet puman Apatyatam agadyasya Hari Shuddena Karmana.
O Maharaj Parikshit, to glorify Maharaj Nabhi, the whole sages compose two verses. One of them is this: who can attain perfection of Maharaj Nabhi? Who can attain his activity? Because of his devotional service, the Supreme Personality of Godhead agreed to become his son.
Just like in the previous chapter also, the sages glorify the wonderful qualities and activities of Prutu Maharaj, Priyavrata Maharaj in the first chapter. Same way here the great the citizens recited some verses in praise of Nabi. Sukadeva Goswami quoting them. So what man could follow King Nabi? for whom the Lord became his son by execution of pure bhakti. So they are glorifying the bhakti of King Nabi. So King Nabi has great bhakti that the Supreme Lord himself became his son. So who can be like King Nabi? So like that, they are glorifying the wonderful devotional qualities and activities of King Nabi. So next verse, they further say, Brahmanyonya banaber, Brahmanyonya naber, Vipramangala pujita, Yasya barhishi ajnesham, Darshayam asurojasa.
The second prayer is this: who is better worshipper of Brahmanas than Maharaj Nabhi? Because he worshipped the qualified Brahmanas to their full satisfaction, the Brahmanas, by their Brahminical prowess, showed Maharaj Nabhi the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, in person.
So Nabi had great bhakti toward the Lord, and Nabi also had great bhakti toward the Brahmanas also, devotee Brahmanas. So here that is indicated. Who other than King Nabi was affectionate to the Brahmanas? The Brahmanas, pleased with his charity, revealed to him the Lord by the power of their bhakti during the sacrifice. So King Nabi respected and treated very nicely the Brahmanas in his kingdom. As a result of that, in reciprocation, the Brahmanas performed a wonderful sacrifice, as a result of which the Supreme Lord made appearance and gave his audience to King Nabi. So here, the Brahmanas Bhakti is also glorified here. So in that way, the Brahmanas were pleased by his donations and other acts, so that the auspiciousness was created. Or they were worshipped by auspiciousness, since the king was a devotee. By the power of Bhakti, they revealed the Lord unto King Nabi. So they performed yajna in such a way that the Lord will appear and bless him in person. So that is indicated here in this text. So that is about King Nabi. His affection and is taking care of the Lord in his childhood and enthroning him and going to Himalayas and performing austerities and eventually going back home back to Godhead along with his wife. And now the next verse onwards, it's all about Lord Rsabhadeva. Yeah, please continue with the translation for text number 8.
After Nabhi Maharaj departed for Badrikashram, the Supreme Lord Rishabdeva understood that his kingdom was his field of activities. He therefore showed himself as an example and taught the duties of a householder by first accepting Brahmacharya under the direction of spiritual master. He also went to live at the spiritual master's place, Gurukula. After his education was finished, he gave gifts, that is Guru Dakshina, to his spiritual master and then accepted the life of householder. He took a wife named Jayanti and begot 100 sons who were as powerful and qualified as he himself. His wife Jayanti had been offered to him by Indra, the king of heaven. Rishabdeva and Jayanti performed householder life in an exemplary way, carrying out ritualistic activities ordained by the Shruti and Smriti Shastras.
Yeah. So now we have one verse in Bhagavad Gita. Yadyad acharati shrestha tattayat eva itarojana. So that principle Lord Rishabhadeva will display in the upcoming 3 chapters. So he will set an example how to lead a life as a student in Gurukul, as a brahmachari, and then how to lead a household order as a grihastha, and how to lead vanaprastha as a vanaprasthi. He will set an ideal example in these 3 ashramas. His life is all meant to set an ideal example, and they are mentioned in subsequent verses. Lord Rishabhadeva, knowing his kingdom to be the place to perform karma, karma kshetram, swavarsham karma kshetram anumanyamana, lived in the Gurukul in his childhood he went to Gurukul to show others that they should also do this. He, the Supreme Lord himself, everything. He don't have to go to Gurukul. Even Lord Krishna and Balram also went to Gurukul to study. They don't need, but still they went, just to set an example. Same way Rsabhadeva also went to Gurukul to set a right example. He studied nicely from the Guru and he offered Guru Dakshana and came home and eventually married Jayanti and became the king of the entire kingdom, the Ajnaba Varsha, and ruled over the kingdom under the guidance of the Brahmanas. And he did perfectly, setting an ideal example of a householder king. So in that way, taking the permission of his teachers who received Guru Dakshana gifts, he then taught the path of household life and engaging in activities according to Shruti and Smriti. So he led his life according to the dictates of Shruti and Smriti. He also ruled the kingdom according to the dictates of Shruti and Smriti. He did not do it whimsically. Thus, he practiced as instructed by the Brahmanas. He did, whether his household activities or ruling over the kingdom, everything he did according to the instructions of the Brahmanas. Eventually, he begot in his wife Jayanti, who was given by Indra. We said in the past about why Indra gave, in order to pacify Lord Rsabhadeva, appease Lord Rsabhadeva, he offered his own daughter in marriage to Lord Rsabhadeva. So through her, he begot 100 sons similar to himself. So Anumanyamana means knowing. He showed others that they should accept Gurukula life. He taught Dharma after taking permission from the teachers who received gifts. That means one should go to Gurukul after Guru Dakshana and come home with after obtaining the blessings of Guru, something like that. After coming home, after marrying, performing grahastha karmas of the Shruti and Smriti, Ubaya Lakshanam, he practiced as instructed by the Brahmanas. So Medini says, Amnaya means scripture and teaching. Samyagamnaya, Samyag Amnaya Amnatam. So basically, as instructed by the Brahmanas from the Shruti and Smriti scriptures, he performed all the activities. Neither the Brahmanas nor the king are whimsical to do something on their own. They have done everything according to scriptural injunctions. So Prabhupada quotes this verse in NOD and many places in NOD. Shruti Smriti Puranadi. What was that? Pancharatriki Vidim Vina, Aikantiki Harer Bhakti, Utpat Eva Kevalam. If one practices Bhakti without following the Shruti, Smriti, Puranadi, Pancharatriki scriptures, if they practice Bhakti on their own, they only create Utpat in the society. That Bhakti is not as per the scriptures. So that is the understanding.
Hare Krishna.
Ah.
Prabhuji, here, like till previous verse, it was explained how Maharaj Nabi went in Vanaprastha and how he went back to Vaikuntha. And now it is explained that King Rishabdev displayed all the ashramas, how one should go through and all that. So means before Rishabdev went to Brahmachari ashram and to the Gurukul, before that only King Nabi had left.
No, not like that. Not like that.
Okay.
Not like that.
Okay, just for explanation purpose.
One person's story is over. Second person's story from the beginning it is mentioned.
Okay.
So it is like that. So out of his 100 sons, Bharata the eldest was a great yogi having excellent qualities. Because of his wonderful qualities and wonderful character, this Ajnaba Varsha is called Bharata Varsha. So this will not happen immediately. This will happen only after Bharata Maharaj become the king. So even though some things which were happened in the past, which will happen in the future, because of the continuity, they are told now. Even in this verse also. So now, who are those 100 sons of Jayanti, begotten by Lord Rsabhadeva? Their details are mentioned. So while introducing Bharata Maharaj, it is said that eventually when Bharata Maharaj becomes the king of this province, it will be known as Bharata Varsha, which will happen much later, but it is told in advance only. So that is understanding. Sometimes we have to see like that. And then the eldest one is Bharat Maharaj. After Bharata Maharaj, there are 9 brothers. Their names are mentioned. Who are those 9 brothers? Younger than Bharata, but older than the other 90 sons were the sons named Kushavarta, Ilavarta, Brahmavarta, Malaya, Ketu, Bhadrasena, Indraspuk, Vidarbha, and Kikata. So first one is Bharata, second to 10th, their names are mentioned. Younger than Bharata were 9 sons, and older than the other 90 sons. Their names are mentioned in the verse. So later on, the same details are mentioned again in the 11th canto. 11th canto, 7th chapter, 11th canto, 2nd chapter. There Navayogendras are going to teach King, what was his name? That Mithila's king. Navayogendras teach to King
Nimi
Nimi Maharaj. Yes. So in that there, in order to introduce Navayogendras, the 100 sons of Bharat Maharaj are mentioned. So I just put from them. So 11 to 19 says that Tesham Navadvipa Patayose Samantata. The 9 of the remaining sons of the Lord Rsabhadev became the rulers of the 9 islands of Bharatavarsha, and they exercised complete sovereignty over this Bharatavarsha. So there in the 11th canto it is said that so the land which was given to Nabi by his father uh, Agnidra was known as Nabi Varsha. After Nabi, Lord Rishabhdeva ruled that same land. That time it was known as Ajnaba Varsha. After Lord Rishabhdeva, Bharata Maharaj ruled the same land. That time it was known as Bharata Varsha. And within Bharata Varsha there are 9 islands. So the 9 islands were in turn ruled by the 9 younger brothers of Bharat Maharaj. So Bharat Maharaj is like the overall king of the entire Bharata Varsha, and within that Bharata Varsha there are 9 islands, and those 9 islands, basically 9 divisions within Bharata Varsha, those 9 divisions are ruled by 9 independently, like ruled by subordinately ruled by the 9 younger brothers of Bharat Maharaj. That information is mentioned in the 11th canto. Even the next couple of verses also will refer from 11th canto only. So just to get complete information about these sons. So in addition to these 10 sons, so Bharata Maharaj was one, and the 9 younger brothers who were ruling the 9 islands of Bharata Varsha, total 10 were over. After these 10, there are 9 more great sons. So who are they? In addition to these 10 sons were Kavi, Havi, Antariksha, Prabuddha, Pipalayana, and then Avihotra, Drumila, Chamasa, Karabhajana, who were all very exalted, advanced devotees. I shall hereafter describe the characters of these 9 devotees in the conversation between Narada and Vasudeva in the 11th canto, which is filled with the glories of the Supreme Lord and satisfy the mind. So Narada Muni, while discussing with Vasudeva, he quotes a conversation that took place between Navayogendras and King Nimi. So these sons were called as 9 Navayogendras. So they became sannyasis. Like 100 sons were sent to Gurukul. Of the 100 sons, so 10 became Kshatriyas, 9 became sannyasis, Navayogendras, and the remaining 81 will become Brahmanas. That will be mentioned in the next verse. So Uparishtat means later in the 11th canto. So 11 to 20. The previous verse was in 11 to 19. In the 19th verse, 9 brothers of Bharata Maharaj are introduced. In the 20th verse, these 9 brothers were introduced. So this 20th verse says that the 9 saintly sons of Lord Rsabhadeva, discerning the highest truth and endeavoring for Paramatma, were learned concerning Paramatma. They wandered about naked. Like the 4 Kumaras, these Navayogendras were also wandered freely. Navabhavam Mahabhaga Munayohi Artha Samshina Shramana Vata Rasana Atma Vidya Visharada. They are Atma Vidya Visharada. They are expert in Atma Vidya with the knowledge of Paramatma, Atma and Paramatma, and the Vata Rasana. They were wearing the Vata, the wind at the clothes. So they are moving freely. They were the listeners of the highest truth, Atma Samshina, making great endeavor for realizing Atma, and were naked, Vata Rasana. So like that. So these were the qualities of these 9 sons of Lord Rishabdev. Even the first chapter also we saw that Privrat Maharaj had 10 sons. Of the 10 sons, 3 sons became, they went to Gurukul, they remained in the Gurukul only. They continued as Naishika Brahmacharis and eventually became Paramasa sannyasis. So here Rishabdev's 9 sons also became Paramamsa sannyasis, Navayogendras. So like that. And the remaining 81 sons, the youngest sons of Jayanti, who followed the orders of their father, were humble, learned, and dedicated to perform sacrifice. They became Brahmanas. So they are interested to become perform Brahmanical activities. They became Brahmanas. They were very pure in their activities. Thus, they became perfectly qualified Brahmanas. So this is how Lord Rishabhadeva's different sons have become different personalities. So this is also mentioned in the 19th verse of the 11th canto. Mahashilana means they are very humble and well behaved. So in the 19th verse in the 11th canto it said that Karma Tantra Pranetara Ekashi Ekashitir Dvijataya. 81 sons became Brahmanas and helped initiate the Vedic path of karma. So it is Ekashitir means 81. In Sanskrit, they called Ekashitir. So there it is said that among the 100 sons of Lord Rishabhadeva, 9 became rulers of the 9 islands such as Brahma Varta within Bharatavarsha. 81 sons became Brahmanas who started the path of karma. Eldest among all is Bharata. The 9 remaining sons of Lord Rishabhadeva were greatly fortunate sages generally known as Navayogendras. So then later on 22nd, 23rd sons, verses, they talk about these Navayogendras. Says that these Navayogendras wandered the earth while seeing the entire universe with all its gross and subtle objects as a manifestation of Supreme Lord and as non-different from Paramatma. So, yo pashyati mam sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati. So, this is the quality of these Navayogendra. They were able to see the Supreme Lord as Paramatma in each and every atom everywhere. Annantarasa Paramancha Antarastam. They are liberated souls who travel unchecked to abodes of the Devatas, Siddhas, Sadhyas, Gandharvas, Yakshas, Kumaras, the humans, Kinnaras, serpents, Charanas, ghosts, Vidyadhara, the Brahmanas, and others. So basically, they could go anywhere and everywhere without being checked. Same thing with Kumaras also. Kumaras also could go anywhere and everywhere without checked. When Jaya Vijaya checked them, they became angry and cursed them. Because when somebody renounces this world, so they have nothing to do with anything in this world. So they can go anywhere and everywhere. They are not supposed to be checked. When Kumaras are checked, they became angry. So these 9 Navayogindas also, like Kumaras only, they can wander at will anywhere they want without being checked by anyone else. So these are the descriptions of the 100 sons of Lord Rishabhadev. So it's like that. Hare Krishna. You are able to follow?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Mhm.
Prabhuji, this is Karabhajan is that means at many places Karabhajan Rishi advice like that it comes in Bhagavatam. So same Karabhajan is
Yes,
one
yes,
of the
same
one of the
Navayogendras.
yeah.
ये उनका नाम से है ना इधर कवि हवि अंतरिक्ष प्रबुद्ध पिपलायन हवियोत्र द्रुमिला चामस and Karabhajana. These are the 9 sons. So wherever the name Karabhajana comes in the Bhagavatam, if Prabhupada quotes, that is one of the Navayugandras only. Yes.
Thank you.
So now that is all about Lord Rishabhadeva's Gurukul and household life. In household, he married their Jayanti and begot 100 sons, and their names and their introduction about them is given. And like that, he established an example how to lead a life in Gurukul and how to lead a life as an householder. And his further activities are mentioned in the further verses. So how did Rishabdev ruled the kingdom? So please read the translation.
Being an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Rishabdeva was fully independent because his form was spiritual, eternal, and full of transcendental bliss. He eternally had nothing to do with the 4 principles of material misery, that is, birth, death, old age, and disease. Nor was he materially attached. He was always equipoised and he saw everyone on the same level. He was unhappy to see others unhappy, and he was the well-wisher of all living entities. Although he was a perfect personality, the supreme lord and controller of all, he nonetheless acted as if he were an ordinary conditioned soul. Therefore, he strictly followed the principles of Varnashram Dharma and acted accordingly. In due course of time, the principles of Varnashram Dharma had become neglected, and therefore, through his personal characteristics and behavior, he taught the ignorant public how to perform duties within the Varnashram Dharma. In this way, he regulated the general populace in householder life, enabling them to develop religion and economic well-being, and to attain reputations, sons and daughters, material pleasure, and finally eternal life. By his instructions, he showed how people could remain householders and at the same time become perfect by following the principles of Varnashram.
So the Supreme Lord named Rsabhadeva was independent, eternally free from the succession of material changes, full of bliss, and the sole controller. But like the Jiva, performed prescribed activities and taught Dharma, which had been destroyed by showing an example to persons ignorant of Dharma. So basically, the Supreme Lord, who has nothing to do this material world, nothing to do with the activity that are being carried out in the material world by the conditioned souls. But whenever he comes into this material world, appearing in the form in among the human beings, he imitates the human behavior. He executes all the activities of the human behavior. As Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Namang karma limpanti name karma phale spruha itimam yobi janati karma bir nasa badyate. Not this verse, one more verse. Chatur varna maya system guna karma vibhagasha. And then api kartaram apimam. There, I think in that verse only says that the four varnas and four ashramas are created by me according to the varna and ashrama. But I don't have to do anything. I have nothing to do according to the varnas and ashrama restrictions. But still, I perform all the duties. Mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvasha. If I as the creator don't set an right example how to follow these duties, the entire world by following my path is put into ruination. If I living in one among the human society does not do these varna duties and ashrama duties because I don't have to do because I'm Supreme Lord. Others think that okay, he's not following, why should we follow? We'll follow him. So that's the entire world is put into ruination. The same way here, uh, the dharma which is supposed to be followed systematically, by the effect of time, people tend to forget. They need to be reminded time and again. So Lord Rsabhadeva is acting and also setting a right example so that the people in general are reminded about how to do and why to do the varna and ashrama duties in the proper perspective. So that is the understanding. So he was equal to all, was in control of his senses, was friendly to everyone, mitraha, and compassionate, karunaha. He regulated the people in household life by having them attain morality, wealth, fame, offspring, and bliss. So he did not implement, put so many rules and regulations. Okay, if these are the rules and regulations, if you don't follow, I'll punish you. Not like that. He himself followed rightly and set a right example so that the citizens will also follow in his footsteps and follow proper conduct. Yata Raja Tata Praja. Whatever the king does, the citizens will follow or imitate. So he regulated the people in household order. By himself executing the household duties properly, he regulated the duties of the citizens. By having them attain morality, he himself following morality so that the citizens also followed. He is wealthy because the entire kingdom is prosperous, so everyone is wealthy. And he is famous, the citizens also became famous. And he has 100 offsprings, like the citizens also had many offsprings. and he had bliss, and everyone has bliss. So something like that. So by himself enacting how to lead a household life, he showed an exact example, and following his example, everyone lived happily. So that's how he has become he kind of he set a good example of a proper king. Viparitatvat means like the jiva who is not independent. Though the Lord is independent, but he acted like dependent as a jiva in the material world. By attainment of dharma, etc., he regulated the people or he made them blissful by following, by executing all the dharmas in the proper order. So this verse says in the Bhagavad Gita, as it is said, Yad yad शीर्षन्या चरितम तत्तद अनुवर्तते लोक यद्यत् आतरति श्रेष्ठ तत्तत् एव इतरो जन सयत् प्रमाणं कुरुते लोकस्तद अनुवर्तते. Whatever is performed by the best person, शीर्षन्या means the head. Head is the best part of the body. So शीर्षन्या means the person who is like the head of the society is followed by the anuvartate, the citizens. So it's like that. Shirshanya means the best thing in the entire body, like that, the best person in the entire society. Mukhya. Though he knew the secrets of Vedic knowledge, which contains all the dharmas, Sakala Dharmam, he ruled the people by the path shown by the Brahmanas, with sense control and tolerance. He himself is the Supreme Lord, he knows everything, but he never denied or disregarded the instructions of the Brahmanas, simply executed whatever the Brahmanas said. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Vidya Vinaya Sampanni. The symptom of having knowledge is Vinaya, humility. A person who has complete knowledge has complete Vinaya also, complete humility. So that person will be able to follow the instructions of one's instructor submissively. So in that way. Though he knew the secrets explained in the Vedas, which included all, he taught the path shown by the Brahmanas. So it's like that. How did he execute? How did he follow the path shown by the Brahmanas? How did he bring the bliss to the people? How did he engage all the citizens in their household duties properly, in their varnashram duties properly? By executing again yajna, like his predecessors. We saw from starting from our Swayambhu, Manu, Uttanapada, Dhruva, and then all this later on, everyone, including our Prutu and his son, everyone is engaged in performing sacrifice only. Like that, Lord Rsabhadeva also performed 100 Ashwamedha sacrifices. That is mentioned here. He worshipped by performing sacrifices according to the instructions of the Brahmanas, dedicated to the worship of the various devatas 100 times, Shatakritva, with abundant ingredients, proper place and time, youth, faith, and priests. So when Prithu Maharaj performed 100, Indra was disturbed and kind of put impediments in the 100th one. But when Lord Rsabhadeva was performing 100, Indra did not do anything because already he checked with Indra one time, stopping rains. So he does not want to do anything more. And he also understood that he is his own son-in-law and he will not want to remove him from the position of Indra also. So there was nothing. So he performed 100 Ashwamedha sacrifices. So for the well-being of the citizens. As a result of which the entire kingdom was auspicious, prosperous, and everyone was completely in bliss. He worshipped by sacrifices filled with abundant ingredients, age, etc. Age refers to youth because it is said that Yuvaiva Dharmam Anvichet. One should execute Dharma during one's youth. Kaumaram Acharet Prajno. So when body is strong and stout and healthy, one should execute all the dharmas. Not that as people say that hey, Bhagavad Gita and all we will do only after retirement. 60s के बाद तभी हम कुछ काम नहीं रहेगा तभी हम करेंगे. It is not like that. The scriptures say that Yuvaiva Dharmam Anvichet. The Bhagavad Dharma should be executed when one is in youth. So thus Lord Rshabhadeva worshipped with various devatas as the object. So by performing 100 Ashwamedha sacrifices, he worshipped all the devatas along with their head, Lord Vishnu. So this is how Lord Rsabhadeva established a ideal example and made everyone to follow Varnashrama Dharma properly, and Malab inspired everyone to follow Varna Dharma properly, and hence made everyone prosperous and happy, blissful. So this is how an ideal king rules over the citizens. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Should I read, Prabhuji?
Please, Mataji. You can read the 18th one.
No one likes to possess anything that is like a will-o-wisp or a flower in the sky, for everyone knows very well that such things do not exist. When Lord Rishabhdeva ruled this planet of Bharatvarsha, even common men did not want to ask for anything at any time or by any means. No one ever asked for a will-o-wisp. In other words, everyone was completely satisfied, and therefore there was no chance of anyone asking for anything. The people were absorbed in great affection for the king. Since this affection was always expanding, they were not inclined to ask for anything.
So, what is the reason the citizens were in bliss that is indicated in this verse? When Lord Rishabhadeva ruled the Bharatavarsha, Bhagavan Rishabhena Parirakshemana Etasmin Varshe. Actually, we should not write here as Bharatavarsha, we should call it as Ajnapa Varsha. Because when Lord Rishabhadeva was ruling, it is still called as Ajnapa Varsha only. Later on, it became known as Bharatavarsha. So when Lord Rishabhadeva ruled the Ajnapa Varsha, no one ever desired false objects by taking from others. So, na kaschana purushaha katanchana vanchati. That means every citizen is completely satisfied with what they have. They are not interested in somebody else's property. As Srila Prabhupada always quotes this, it also comes in the Bhagavad Gita, a couple of places, 5th chapter, 6th chapter, and 14th chapter, I think. The qualities of a person in self-realization. This Chanakya Pandit says that Matruvat paradareshu, lostravat paradarveshu, atmavat sarvabhuteshu, yeo pashyati sa pandita. Who is the knowledge? A person in knowledge will see all other women as one's own mother, and the wealth of others as the rocks, lostravat paradarveshu, and he sees every living entity as oneself, atmavat sarvabhuteshu. That person is in knowledge. The same principle is also told in the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, 5th chapter, 6th chapter, and 14th chapter. So, what are the qualities of a person who is self-realized? So, Atma Rama, Sita Prajna. So, in those conditions, also same condition, same kind of description is given. So, because they have what they have whatever they need, so they are happy. They are not interested in cheating others or stealing from others. So the citizens are quite happy. Everyone constantly accepted Lord Rishabhadeva as the greatest object of affection with their whole self. And other reason is that because they did not look for the objects of somebody else's. That means they did not look for the wealth of somebody else's or anything of somebody else's, because they were only wanting to have Lord Rishabhadeva as their dearmost object. Nothing else they are interested in this world. So it's like Vijrumbita Sneha Atishayam. So Sneha Atishayam means so much love and affection they have for Lord Rishabhadeva. They are not interested in anything other than Lord Rishabhadeva in this world. So it is like that. So while the Ajnapa Varsha was protected by Lord Rishabhadeva, no one had any desire for anything non-existent, like a flower in the sky of himself, by taking from others. Everyone had only great affection with their total selves for Lord Rishabhadeva only. They are not willing to accumulate more and more wealth, property, this, that, whether for oneself or from stealing from others. They only want Lord Rishabhadeva. They had that intense affection for Lord Rishabhadeva. So just like in Braja Vrindavan also, every mother and father, they wanted Krishna to be their son. They had that desire. So Krishna reciprocated accordingly. Lord Krishna became their son for 1 year. So for Krishna's sake, they shifted from Gokul Mahavan to Vrindavan, Vrindavan to Nandagaon, Chettikara, etc. etc. So that is the kind of affection they had. Even Ayodhya Vasis also wanted only Lord Ram. Even when Lord Rama was going to forest, following the word of Dasharath Maharaj and Kaikeyi, all the Ayodhya Vasis are following after him. They want to be with him. And finally, also when Lord Rama was going back to Godhead, all the citizens of Ayodhya followed after him. So that is the affection the citizens had for the Supreme Lord whenever he appears. According to Amarakosha, the word Antara means opportunity, space, period, cloth, disappearance, difference in reference to an opening one's own except outside. Okay, these are all some meanings of this Antara. So somewhere the word must have come. So that's why it is mentioned here. So Antarena, their own self, within their own self. So within the core of their heart, they only thought of Lord Rsabhadeva. Nothing else. None of the things of this material world have attracted them. They are only completely attracted to Lord Rsabhadeva. So this is the nature of the people. That's why they are completely full in bliss. So that is the reason. So please read the last verse for today.
Once while touring the world, Lord Rishabdeva, the Supreme Lord, reached a place known as Brahmavarta. There was a great conference of learned Brahmanas at that place, and all the king's sons attentively heard the instructions of the Brahmanas there. At that assembly, within the hearing of the citizens, Rishabdeva instructed his sons, although they were already very well behaved, devoted, and qualified. He instructed them so that in the future they could rule the world very perfectly. Thus he spoke as follows.
So here it said that. So he was ruling very nicely. So he ruled over everything nicely. So here the transition. So after ruling over, he has to make his son as the king, and then he has to take on to Vanaprasadar. So before taking to Vanaprasadar, the king will give the final instructions to the king, to the next king, his eldest son. So and also other sons also. So that is what is going to happen in the next chapter. So for that, the setting is mentioned here in this verse. So before taking on to Vanaprasadar, he has to enthrone his son. So before enthroning him, he is giving a final talk. So when is that and where it happened? Once while traveling, Lord Rishabdeva, the Supreme Lord, arriving at Brahmavarta, basically he is taking his 100 sons along the kingdom. He is showing them the entire kingdom to them. So something like that we can think of. So and there, arriving at Brahmavarta, Brahmavarta is the place. There they all arrived, and there Lord Rishabdeva taught his attentive sons, who were self-controlled and filled with obedience and devotion, in an assembly of the best of the Brahmanas and sages. While the citizens listened, he spoke as follows. So, taking his sons, showing them the capital and the nearby places of his kingdom, he brought all his 100 sons to Brahmavarta. So it seems that there's something is happening there. So all the great learned scholars and the Brahmanas and all the citizens were assembled there. And in their midst, so Lord Rishabhadeva was giving his final talk to his sons and also to his citizens. So that his talk will be described in the 5th chapter. There are 25 verses, very wonderful and powerful, very strong prayers. So we will discuss them in the next week, in the next class. So this is about the activities of Lord Rishabhadeva as a child in Gurukul, activities of Lord Rishabhadeva as a king, as a householder, as the husband of a wife, as the father of sons, his rule, his performance of sacrifices, like this, whatever he did, as long as he was ruling over the entire Bharatavarsha or Ajanaba Varsha, they are briefly indicated in this chapter. So Brahmavarta, which was their capital at that time, Brahmavarta is also capital from Swayambhu Manu. From Swayambhu Manu onwards, that is the capital. So Brahmavarta, it is called Aryavarta also. It was their capital. Swayambhu Manu, Uttanapada, Dhruva, Prutu, they were all ruling over from him. He were now as Prutu Maharaj, his son Agnidra, Nabi, and Rishabdev. They were all ruling. Even within Brahmavarta city, in one corner, Brahmavarta is currently known as Bitur or Bitur. Bitur is a town in Kanpur district, 23.4 kilometers by road north of the center of Kanpur city in Uttar Pradesh, India. Bitur is situated on the right bank of river Ganga. So when I went to Kanpur to present that fifth canto cosmology onto the brahmacharis in brahmachari ashram, they took me to this place, Bitur. And there is a pilgrimage place on the bank of Ganga. The bathing ghat is there. Lord Brahma's lotus feet are there. So that's why it is called Brahmavarta. People take bath in Ganga and they worship the lotus feet of Lord Brahma. If you go to the inner part of the city, there is one corner, it is called as the Dhruva Tila. They say that this is here Dhruva Maharaj and his predecessors are later on his ancestor, later generation, they are all lived there and they ruled over the entire Bhumandala from there. That is their capital. On the other side of the other corner of the entire Bitur town, we have Valmiki Muni's ashram. So it is there Valmiki Muni performed tapasya, attained perfection and compiled Ramayana, took care of Mother Sita after Lakshmana left her across Ganga, and Lavakusha were born there. Valmiki Muni taught and educated and compiled Ramayana and taught Ramayana to Lava and Kusha in Bitur only. So that is this place known as Brahmavarta in the Bhagavatam. So it is like that. So this is our what we can say chapter 4 of Canto 5. Any questions? Hare Krishna.
No, Prabhuji.
It's a small chapter. So today anyway we had a small class. So if there are no questions, Hare Krishna, other devotees, any questions?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay.
No, Prabhuji, it's fine.